alaikum and welcome back to our series, The Values of Ashura. We are accompanied today by Sheikh Afzal Merali. Sheikh, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
So, during our previous sessions, we examined the purpose of Imam Hussein alayhi salam's uprising, and we are now in an ideal position to go a step further and begin discussing the values which were revived during Ashura. For today, the value of covenant and responsibility. So, when we're studying the values of Ashura, we come across this one value of covenant and responsibility. What does this value signify?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق سيدنا محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وعلى صحبهم الأخيار المنتجبين وعلى جميع الأنبياء والمرسلين واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. السلام عليك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers. Thank you very much for having me. Continue on now by going into detail considering the 10 values we promised our viewers that we will talk about. The first value, as you mentioned today, is going to be about the covenant and responsibility. When we come to talk and introduce this value, we try to link this with what we talked about before, which is Amr bil-Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar. Imama is a covenant. Covenant means a promise and responsibility which has been which the Imam has embraced, which the leader has been endowed with or held responsible for by Allah Azza wa Jal, which is alluded to in different verses that we will talk about, we will mention during the course of today's discussion. For a person to live in an oppressive or a society wherein oppressive rulers rule is something, but it is something else, or it is very important that even though when the situation is as such, every single human being has a responsibility to voice their voice or their opposition to this oppression. And so one of the first things that the Imam was looking and was goaling towards with his uprising was to uphold his responsibility of imamat, to face a'immatul kufr, the leaders of kufr and oppression, a'immatul jawr, at-taghut, the taghut of the time, the transgressor, the oppressor of the time, who was Yazid. And so the Imam did so with his call, with his uprising, and as such he fulfilled his responsibility and upheld his covenant with Allah, that Allah Azza wa Jal gave him, which was the covenant of imamat. In one of the narrations it is mentioned that إذا ظهرت البدعة فعلى العالم أن يظهر علمه وإلا فعليه لعائن الله. When the bid'ahs, the innovations in religion, oppression and all forms of other bid'ah, practical, etc., drinking, whatnot, when all of these come into, when all of these appear, then the scholar, the alim, the learned person, and imam even more so, should show his knowledge. And if not, if the imam does not do so, then the curses of Allah Azza wa Jal will fall unto him. And so it was the responsibility of the imam to show his knowledge and to practice his knowledge of Amr al-Ma'ruf and Nahy anil Munkar and come out against Yazid, as we saw that he did.
So now, before we delve deeper into this value, if we were to study the history of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, in particular his supplication of Arafah, there are certain portions of that supplication which can help us understand this particular value of Ashura.
Of course, this part that you're referring to, over here, one of the parts that we can see that Imam Hussein alayhi salam alluded to, in this very long dua of Arafah, when he says, O Allah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, O Allah, it was due to your kindness, favor and grace on me that you did not make me be born in the governance or in the land of leaders of infidelity, of kufr, those who broke your covenant and denied your prophets. You gave me birth at that time when you had already done the arrangements for my guidance. You grew me in that era of guidance. Prior to this also, Your kindness and companionship was with me when you created me with such elegance and blessed me with such countless bounties. The Imam over here is referring to the fact that Makkah before the birth, or Medina before the birth of the Imam Hussein alayhi salam, was purified of polytheism. So the Imam is thanking Allah Azza wa Jal for creating him in this land of monotheism, this land of guidance of Islam. This sentence is not only just to be mentioned. We as well, when we recite Dua al-Arafah, which can be recited in any time, it's not that it is a sin, it is out of order for a person to recite a dua that is prescribed for a particular time. For example, Dua Kamil on Thursday, for a person to recite it on another time. It's not the fact that it is out of order. In fact, it is, dua in general is recommended. This sentence is not only the fact that we just have to read it and that's it. No. We also have a responsibility in practically making this sentence be realized outside. If, number one, our land that we are born in is not a land of monotheism, we should try and sow the roots of guidance into the society that we were born in, number one. Number two, which was the situation of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. The situation of Imam Hussein was the fact that even though he was born in Medina and was living in Medina, but the oppression and the misguidance that was in Sham and that was spreading and trickling into the different corners of the Islamic State due to the Umayyad corruption, the Imam saw that this was going to come back over here, and because of the fact that Yazid was a kafir. And those verses of poetry that show that لَعِبَتْ هَاشِمُ بِالْمُلْكِ فَلَا وَحْيٌ جَاءَ وَلَا فَلَا خَبَرٌ جَاءَ وَلَا وَحْيٌ نَزَلَ, that Hashim played with the monarchy and there has been no news that has come. There has not been any news, neither has any revelation descended. This means that the person was a kafir. Now this person and the person before him, their plan was to return that situation of monotheism in Hijaz and turn it back to Jahiliyyah, because that is what they wanted. So the Imam saw it as his responsibility to ensure that monotheism continues in Medina and in the Islamic State. So as a result, he uprose. This is the second practical application of this sentence that the Imam was doing. The third one is this, that the Imam also was doing, and we also should do so. Alright, let's say for example, any one of us is born in a country where there is no monotheism, or there is polytheism, let's say. I mean, polytheism is the main thing over there. In a particular city, let's say, or in a particular town. What a person can do is, for their children to be blessed with this ni'mah, with this grace, they can move to the country where Islam or guidance is present. For a person to live, for example, in a city, let's say, for example, one of the far corners of America, a coastal city, for example, where fasad, where drinking, adultery, etc., all of this is present, ma'adallah. Why should a person go there? I mean, there are many different cities where rizq, where sustenance can be brought, can be attained. Why should a person have to face all of this and make their children also face all of this, and as a result be tempted with these different forms of haram, and as a result they would be misguided? Why should a person take these chances? Life is only this one life. Some people don't even reach 30. This is the only place that a human being has the conditions in order to sow the seeds of perfection into our souls. We will never have this other chance again. So why should a person take this chance? If one only has the chance of making money for 1 hour, will a person do anything else other than make money? Okay. So as a result, we understand these three different points from this portion, from the sentence of Dua al-Arafah, which the Imam did so before going to Karbala, that he thanked Allah for creating him in this place. And as a result, he was going to practically realize and make this part of the dua stay true, which is to fend off the corruption that was going to come and was coming to the Islamic State.
Okay, so what we can deduce from this extract is that Imam alayhi salam's uprising was a result of his responsibility.
Exactly. It's his responsibility to fend off and defend the Islamic State from this corruption that was coming from Sham.
But unfortunately, if we were to study the history of Karbala, the events which played out just before the tragedy, it appears, however, incorrectly that the moment when Yazid demanded allegiance was when the red line was crossed. It seems like the event which directly resulted in Karbala. So what is the reality of events which led to the tragedy?
Of course, over here, someone may be misled to think that Imam Hussein alayhi salam's his uprising was only a reaction to the action that Yazid previously took, which was to try and force him to give him bay'ah, to give him allegiance. But this was not the case. What is to be mentioned over here is the fact that before Imam Hussein, two Imams before him, Imam Ali alayhi salam himself wanted to uproot these roots of corruption that Muawiyah sowed in the Levantine area. From the Levant, from that time, Imam Ali alayhi salam first of all started the battle of Siffin. And in Siffin, had it not been for the deceitful plan and plot of Amr ibn al-As to raise the Quran on the spears, the Imam would have had the chance to uproot all of this. And had it not been for those Khawarij who initially forced the Imam to go to Tahkim, to go to this tribulation, to go this tribunal, if you were to say, to this court, in order to solve this problem, the Imam would have had the chance to uproot this. The Imam, after the battle of Siffin, after that which had happened between Abu Musa al-Ash'ari and Amr ibn al-As, due to the latter's deceitful and cunningness, the Imam was forced to go back. Okay, the Imam went back, but as well, when the Imam left, when he was still even on his last few days, the Imam had the plan to go and re-attack Sham at that time. And so he was calling people to camp outside Kufa so that they can prepare and go. But then what happened was Muawiyah was clever enough to send someone to assassinate the Imam alayhi salam. It is actually a misconception according to what some people believe. According to some scholars, it is a misconception that Ibn al-Muljim only killed the Imam in order to gain the favor of a woman, to gain the grace of a woman. No, it is not this is not the case. He was a Khariji, but according to what many ulama believe, many historians, is the fact that Muawiyah sent him to give him a blow. Now, after him, Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam did the same thing. I mean, just to mention this quickly, just to go through this quickly. Imam Hasan alayhi salam also tried to do this, but he was his followers did not come to his aid properly. In the end, he did not have the capability to continue. After this, we had Imam Hussein alayhi salam. After Muawiyah, because of the fact that I mentioned, was a covert fasid, a covert corrupt person. He was not openly misguided, openly committing these haram acts. Yazid, this was not the case with him at all. He was openly as such. And so the Imam was waiting for the objective circumstances to prepare themselves, and the Imam was waiting for Yazid to do something. So it was Yazid who actually reacted to the Imam's planning in general, when the Imam refused to give him bay'ah. So after Yazid did that, and he started to follow him, and he started to follow him also up from Medina to Mecca, this is when the Imam took him, lured Yazid and his soldiers and Amr ibn Sa'ad and Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad to this place, which was Karbala, which was going to be the scene of this immortal battle, which led to the uprooting, even though I'm speaking a little bit prose, but this is what actually happened. The Imam led them to this trap over there, to Karbala. And of course, trap, I don't mean it in the lowerly, basely way, but I mean that this was actually a divine plan of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, in order to remove the roots of corruption, of fasad, of infidelity, of kufr, etc. All of these, the fear of going back to Jahiliyyah. The Imam removed all of this with his martyrdom, with his blood, with the blood of his children, with the captivity of his women folk, with them being looted. The Imam led them to over there in order to expose Yazid and the Umayyad apparatus and what it truly represented and what it truly was. They were killing infants. This hasn't been committed before in Islam. They were doing it. Women were taken prisoners. The daughters of the Prophet were taken veilless to Kufa. So they exposed what Yazid was, and this was initially this is what happened, and it was not the fact that the Imam reacted to the plan of Yazid, and Karbala was only a reaction to the Imam to the order of Yazid that the Imam should give allegiance, and as a result the Imam just said, alright, let me just do something big over here. No, it was not this case. This was all premeditated.
Okay. Thank you. At this point, we will take a short break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. History reveals that there were several instances which ensued and repeatedly proved that Imam's uprising was because of his responsibility towards the truth. And that was particularly when Imam alayhi salam was leaving Medina. So could you enlighten us about these events and their significance?
As I mentioned before, this fact is true, that the Imam Hussein alayhi salam, when he started his uprising, he showed very openly and he showed very clearly that he was a responsible person. He had a responsibility to voice his opposition to the rule of this taghut, of this corrupt ruler, of this oppressor. And so all of the actions and everything that he did showed that he was a responsible person who was not afraid of anything, not even afraid of death. He was going for a particular goal and he was going to achieve it, and he was not running for his life. When the Imam started from Medina, different companions of the Prophet who had still remained at that time came and gave him advice. Do like what some of the companions are doing. For example, Abdullah bin Umar at that time had secluded to a particular place outside Medina and had taken a hut, started to do ibadah over there. No one bothering him, not him bothering anyone. We had Abdullah ibn Abbas, for example, who was a mufassir, who the Prophet ﷺ had prayed for Allah Azza wa Jal to give him the gift of the commentary and the different meanings of the Quran. Even ilm al-ta'wil, to know the inner meanings of the Quran. The Prophet had prayed for Allah Azza wa Jal to give him this, and he had many students. He would give classes. That one would pray. But the Imam's approach was different to this, because there can be no person who can go ahead of the Imam in understanding everything and in doing anything, in even teaching or even ibadah. When the Imam came out, this meant that these two approaches to dealing with the problems is wrong. Doing ibadah when there is an oppressor is wrong. You have to fight. Teaching and theorizing when there is an oppressor and just giving lectures, this does not make any difference. No difference at all. In fact, the oppressor is happy with these kind of people. Muawiyah had something called in Arabic wa'ad al-salatin, wa'ad al-bilat, the preachers of the castle, or preachers of the sultans. You had these kind of people. These kind of people, what they would do is they would preach Islam and they would fabricate many hadith. And because of the fact that the caliph's role from the beginning of the Prophet, from the Prophet's time, was the fact that he was a political and religious ruler. So when Muawiyah's time came, he was free over here. He was empty. So what could he do in order to gain this credibility? He brought these kind of people in order to give more credibility to his own rule. Yazid, he didn't have anything over here. He was very, very empty. So the thing is, I mean, I'm going out of track of here to say I'm mentioning something else, but Yazid did not have with the same cunningness or the same wits like his father to use all of these approaches in order to deceive the people. No, unfortunately, or fortunately, Allah Azza wa Jal did not grant him this grace. Now going back to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he did not come out just by himself. It took all of his family, of his closest family, women folk, children, infants, etc., elderly folk. It took all of them with him in order for all of them to have the same fate as him. They were going for a certain goal. They had a particular responsibility to fulfill. And this was the way to do it, to go all of them and to go directly to solve the problem, not run away from it. I will just mention what some of the people mentioned to the Imam in order to, I mean, of course, when they were afraid for the life of the Imam, and he was not afraid for his own life, he was afraid for Islam more. Muslim ibn Aqil himself, he said to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, ابن بنت رسول الله لو عدلنا عن الطريق وسلكنا غير الجادة كما فعل عبد الله بن الزبير فإن نخاف أن يلحقنا الطلب. قال له الحسين لا والله يا ابن عمي لا فارقت هذا الطريق أبدا. Muslim al-Aqil said, O son of the Messenger of Allah, it would be better if we leave the normal route. Look, there are some particular routes that are taken from Medina to Mecca and from Mecca even to Iraq. So the Muslim al-Aqil was telling him, let us take another way, another path. He's not telling him to stop. Muslim also had the same spirit, but he was afraid for the life of the Imam. I don't want this quote to be misunderstood with the fact that Muslim bin Aqil, who has this very high rank, thought like other people. No, but he was afraid for the life of the Imam. Any one of us would be afraid for the life of the Imam. So Muslim, he told the Imam, let us leave the normal route and let's take some other routes. I have the fear that they will come to hunt us. Imam Hussein alayhi salam said, oh my brother, I will never leave this route. I will never leave it. I will continue taking the same route. I will face whatever we're going to be faced with. Mas'ud bin Mukhtarama also sent a letter to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And what did he tell them? We know that many letters were sent to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, over 18,000 at least, minimum. He told him, do not be deceived by the letters of the people of Iraq. Ibn Zubayr, who is asking you to join him, is your supporter. Mas'ud over here, because of the fact that Abdullah bin Zubayr, who was the person who was a son of Zubayr bin Awam. Zubayr was one of the companions of Imam alayhi salam, but thereafter he was played. His mind was played with by his corrupt son, Abdullah. So Zubayr initially, in the end, went to fight Imam Ali alayhi salam in the Battle of Jamal. But when Zubayr was faced by Imam Ali alayhi salam told him, do you not remember the narration of the Holy Prophet that you will fight me and that you will be the oppressor? Zubayr said, oh my God, the days have made me forget this narration. And as he remembered it, he stopped. He left and he was going back, and on his way back he was assassinated. Imam Ali alayhi salam is also narrated to have said that the killer of Zubayr will go to Jahannam, will go to hell. But Abdullah, his son, was totally different. Abdullah wanted something for himself. So what he was trying to do is to try and gather a certain power for himself, authority, etc. And so he was in Mecca at that time. He had clinged to the Masjid al-Haram at that time. So he was sending these people, Mas'ud for example, send letters that I am the supporter of Hussein, let him do something. You be in the sacred house. I continue reading the letter that was sent by Mas'ud to the Imam. You be in the sacred house of Allah and do not go anywhere else. If the people of Iraq want to come to support you, let them ride their camels and rush towards you. Then you can start an uprising with a big army and power. So Imam Hussein only prayed for the welfare of Mas'ud and said, Astaghfirullah fi dhalik. I will do istikhara, I will ask Allah for khair, for good in my matter. As Imam wanted to say that you're only making excuses of worships and clinging on to and seeking refuge in the Holy Kaaba. So as to get away from your responsibilities, you don't want to fulfill them, you have other goals. And Abdullah bin Zubayr will later come to know that after the uprising of Hussein alayhi salam and after the Sufyani branch of the Umayyad monarchy fell, and when the Marwani branch was taking power, what Abdullah bin Zubayr did is he made a particular imara, rulership, place of his own, starting based from Mecca and around Hijaz area. And it was during this time that Mukhtar al-Thaqafi tried in the beginning to come and give some support against the Marwanis, etc. And then Mukhtar went back, and it was them who, in the end, exterminated Mukhtar's country because of the differences that they sowed between Mukhtar and the son of Malik bin al-Ashtar, Ibrahim. And in the end, Abdullah bin Zubair, I will also come to mention the fate that he came to find in the end, because of how his thinking was. Muhammad bin Hanafiya, the half-brother of Muhammad, came to him and said, "Oh my brother, you are my most beloved and respected one, the most beloved and respected one of the creatures to me. I never keep my advice from others because no one else is more deserving than you. You have a blood relation with me, you are related to my eyes, soul and self. You are the one whose obedience is obligatory on me because Allah has honored you with this, with the imamah, and has declared you as the leader of the people of paradise, Sayyid Shababi Ahli Jannah. I advise you to go to Mecca." He's not advised, not in the sense that he's giving a big person giving advice to a smaller person saying, do this, do this, do this. No, they're just talking. They're afraid for his safety. So I advise you to go to Mecca. If you are not satisfied with that, go to Yemen, because the people of Yemen have been the supporters of your grandfather and your father, and they are very kind and generous, and also their city is big. If you can stay there without any problems, it's fine. Elsewhere, otherwise, leave and take refuge in the deserts, valleys. Like this, you can keep on moving from one city to the other and wait for the end of these people, so that Allah Himself can decide between us and this transgressing community. The Imam said, "Oh my brother," I'm still quoting, "I swear by Allah that even if there is no place on the earth for my refuge, even then I will not pledge allegiance to Yazid." So Muhammad bin Hanafiya cut short his words and started to weep, and the Imam also wept with him. "Oh my brother, may Allah give you good tidings. You have wished goodness for me and identified the right direction for me. In fact, I have intended to go to Mecca only and have done the preparation for some time. My brothers, nephews, and my followers, whose thoughts are same as mine, whose affairs are my affairs, are coming with me. But brother, you stay back in Medina and be my representative over here, and do not hide from me any of their affairs regarding Muhammad bin Hanafiya had an injury during one of the battles with Imam Ali alayhi salam. I believe maybe it was the Battle of Siffin, and so he could not walk properly. He was crippled by this injury. He had problems walking. He had to be carried or walk with a stick, etc. And he was very old at that time as well. And he did not have the capacity, the capability to fight like a normal soldier. So the Imam wanted to say that, in general, you have all mentioned for me ways in order to run away or to have certitude that my safety is guaranteed, to guarantee my safety. But my safety is not what I want. I want to uphold my responsibility as the Imam. I want to uphold my responsibility as the Imam that Allah Azza wa Jal has made me, and I have to face what Yazid is doing to all of us. And he was actually fulfilling a responsibility which is not only his own responsibility. I did mention before that one of the verses of the Quran calls us all to do Amr al-Ma'ruf wa Nahy al-Munkar. And like I mentioned again, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, وَلْتَكُمْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ كُنْتُمْ خَيْرَ أُمَّةٍ أُخْرِجَتْ لِلنَّاسِ تَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَتَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. So in the end, all of these different verses calls for all of us to do Amr al-Ma'ruf. So what about the Imam? His responsibilities are far more than this. Even when the Imam was in Mina and Mecca during that time, and during the Hajj, the Imam was constantly giving different messages, and he was preaching to the people that right now is not the time of Hajj and only slaughtering sheep. Right now is the time of saving Hajj. Right now is the time of saving the Hajj, the time of saving the slaughtering, the Adahi, this time of saving the rights of Mina, of Arafat, all of these rights. We should not take this as an excuse with regards to our responsibility. So after the Imam received the responses from the people that he received in order to go take other paths, etc., and go to Yemen and say one time to go to Mecca, the Imam in the end took his decision to leave and go to Iraq and fulfill his responsibilities, as we mentioned.
Okay, so before we take our next break, just one more question. Yazid and his father stood for the same thing. They had the same values and the same love for dunya. So why did an uprising have to occur during the time of Imam alayhi salam, not before and not after?
Over here, we just have to, I want to re-emphasize just the situation. Muawiyah escaped death for a few times due to the the cunningness that he had and his apparatus had. Like that would happen in Siffin, like what he did to Imam alayhi salam and having him assassinated, according to many views, by what he did to Imam Hassan alayhi salam when he bought all of the leaders and the clan leaders who were with him in his army in Iraq at that time, when he bought them with money, shira' with dhimam, buying their souls. So when Muawiyah did this, he was able to affect the situation of the Imams, of Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam, for example, at that time particularly. But the time of Yazid needed something else totally. It needed a final mark on this scene, which would be an ultimate mark in order to stop this path that is continuing. Yazid's thinking, Yazid's way of doing things was entirely different to his father's, and there was still the badness of Yazid was far more than the badness of Muawiyah, even though both of them did a lot of damage. And this person was open. And had Imam Ali or Imam al-Hassan alayhim as-salam been there during the time of Imam Hussein, had they been the Imam in the stead of Imam Hussein, they would have done the same thing. So this situation, these circumstances of Imam al-Hassan and Imam Hussein alayhi salam, these are what forced him to come out.
Okay, so with that, it's time for a short break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the show. So at this point, let's take a look at this value from a different perspective. Is the value of covenant and responsibility found in the Quran as well?
Of course, this value is found in the Quran, but before going to this value, I just want to end one of the previous points with the following: the fact that when the Imam saw the situation was as such, he fulfilled his responsibilities of Amr al-Ma'ruf and Nahy al-Munkar, like we mentioned in the Quran, and he fulfilled his responsibility of him, the Imam, the true leader of the Ummah. And another narration which points to this is كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته. Each one of you is a leader, is a shepherd, and every shepherd is responsible for his flock and is responsible for his people. And Imam Hussein alayhi salam was as such. The values that Imam Hussein alayhi salam envisaged and embodied were as such that when we have such a situation, he's not one to stay on the pulpits and speak. He is one to go to the battlefield and practically do something in order to change the situation. We have to see this, that right now, and for this reason, we actually say in Diyarat Waritha, we say many times that أشهد أنك أمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر وأطعت الله, etc. That I bear witness that he did أمر المعروف ونهي عن المنكر. Okay, he called to this in the beginning, I want to do this, and he actually did this, and he fulfilled this. Now we come to ourselves practically. When we see a situation as such, when we see that our brothers in Palestine, in Syria, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in all the different places, in Pakistan, etc., 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 all of this is happening to us. When we see the West and the power that they are using in order to turn off the lamp of Islam, when we see what even some of the Arab leaders, what they are doing in order to corner to corner Muslims in particular areas, to corner the followers of Ahlul Bayt particularly, to corner Iran, etc. What are we particularly doing? Let's say, for example, I ask each and every one of us right now in Dar es Salaam, right now in Tanzania, what are we doing? Our responsibility right now is not to go over there and fight. We don't have those circumstances. But at the same time, we have to show support. We have to particularly try to do something which would go with our being followers of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Not only theorize, say, Bana aje atiu, bana aje bom fuita Iraq. Okay. We said that and we finished. Okay, the situation has happened over there. But have we thought that when these bombs happen, there are many widows, for example, that there are many orphans, there are many families that need support? Have we thought about how to particularly try to do something politically or socially in order to try to better the situation, to try and do whatever is in our power to stop that? 72 people of Imam Hussein alayhi salam's followers and the women folk, maybe all of these don't reach 100, saved Islam. Alright? It was these people who saved Islam. We are so many thousands. We can't do anything? Come on. Something is possible. Now going back to your question, the covenant of Imamah is mentioned in the Quran. And it is mentioned with regards to Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam. Nabi Ibrahim, he is known to have been a prophet, Nabi. He is known to have been a Rasul, which is a higher form of responsibility between Nubuwa and Risala, where according to some narrations we only had 313 Risala, Rasuls, apostles, with messages. We had Sharia. One of them was Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam.
Yes.
Now Nabi Ibrahim had Nubuwa, he had Risala. But this was not enough. There was another maqam, there was another rank that he could reach. Later on in his life, according to what many commentators, or most commentators, according to what they commentate, according to what they give a commentary or exegesis of the Quran, considering the verses that I'm going to mention, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَإِذِ ابْتَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ رَبُّهُ بِكَلِمَاتٍ فَأَتَمَّهُنَّ قَالَ إِنِّي جَاعِلُكَ لِلنَّاسِ إِمَامًا. Allah Azza wa Jal, when he said, and when his Lord tried Ibrahim with certain words, he fulfilled them. Ibrahim fulfilled them. So Allah said, He said, surely I will make you an imam of men, of people. Okay. In the last stages of his life, after having fulfilled this test with these words, Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam, after having passed it, reached the level of imam. Allah Azza wa Jal made him an imam. So we come to know that the maqam, the rank of imamah, is higher according to what the Quran is clearly pointing out to. According to the commentators say that this was during the final stages of Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam's life. The Nabi Ibrahim, in the end, he reached the covenant. He reached the stage of having the capacity, the capability of being an imam, and so Allah Azza wa Jal gave him this grace. And as a result, he was made an imam for all the people, the entire earth. And as a result, we can come to know that the Sharia of Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam, al-Islam al-Hanafi al-Ibrahimi, this Sharia was also, there were different times in history when one Sharia would be made global. Okay? So during the time of Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam, his Sharia was made global.
Yes.
But his Sharia ended. In the end, it ended with the Sharia of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and the Holy Prophet's Sharia was also made global. But the difference is his Sharia, the Prophet's Sharia ﷺ, is eternal. It's until the day of Qiyamah.
Yes.
So now, this verse, when Allah Azza wa Jal put Nabi Ibrahim through all of these tests, he succeeded and he deserved to be made an imam. And as a result, we can see that the covenant of imamah is also mentioned in the Quran. The Holy Prophet ﷺ also has the level of imam, we call him Imam al-Muttaqeen. He has reached this level, but we don't consider him as one of the 12 imams. These 12 imams are his successors. It is not because the Prophet is the best of creation. He has reached all the different levels of perfections, and as a result, he also has attained all of the ranks that can be attained.
Yes. Okay. So another thing which Another thing which comes up is that when Imam alayhi salam was leaving Makkah, those who deserted him claimed they were doing so to protect Hajj, that they were going to perform it so that it should stay alive. But we have seen during the course of this discussion that their claims were baseless. And when we move forward to that point in time when Imam Sajjad alayhi salam is introducing himself in the courtyard of Yazid, he introduces himself as the son of Makkah and of Mina. So what message was Imam Sajjad alayhi salam conveying when he said this?
Okay. The message that Imam Sajjad alayhi salam was conveying when he mentioned this, and this is a very important question, and this is actually a continuation or an end or a result of this point that was mentioned, that the Imam Al-Hussein alayhi salam and his followers were looking to preserve and to protect the Hajj, contrary to what the other people were claiming that they wanted to perform the Hajj.
Yes.
Now the Imam actually wanted to protect the Hajj. After his uprising, the foundations of the Hajj, the foundations of Islam as well, all of them were guaranteed and they were secured.
Yes.
And when they were secured with this, and when Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam was taken, he was reminding everyone with this speech that all those people who were performing Hajj and were claiming to be Hujjaj, I protected the Hajj.
Yes.
My father protected the Hajj. My uncles protected the Hajj. My cousins, my brothers, my martyrs, my family, our womenfolk, my aunt, we have protected the Hajj with this. And we have shown truly what these people are. And as a result, he can truly say that أنا ابن مكة ومنى. I am the son of Makkah and Mina. I am the son of Zamman. I am the son of Safa and Marwa. And as a result, so the Imam is pointing, we can say that the Imam is pointing to this reality, that it is they who truly represent the foundations of Islam.
Okay, so those irresponsible people who forsake their God-given duties, what is their fate?
Okay, if I were to mention over here one example, I mentioned Abdullah bin Zubayr, and I did say that, so I will continue later on in the course of the discussion to mention what his end was. Abdullah bin Zubayr, after they did what they did, after they established, it is actually very, very important to mention that Abdullah bin Zubayr did not try to do anything during the life of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, because he knew that Imam Hussein would take all the attention for himself because of what he is. He would not get any attention from the people. So what Abdullah bin Zubayr did, after he heard about the martyrdom of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he got so happy that now the situation is good for me. And so he started. 2 years later, Yazid had gone. He was still in Makkah and he started to do all of this. Now, Abdullah, in the end, of course, he had another enemy. When the Marwani branch, when the Umayyads later on did come back and they had power, what happened? Al-Hajjaj came with an army. He came to Makkah. He came to Makkah with catapults. For 8 months, Abdullah bin Zubayr was embargoed. He was embargoed in Masjid al-Haram because he was there. He was embargoed there. Catapults were working for 8 months, and in the end, even the Kaaba was destroyed. Thereat, this brother ran away. He ran away. He was caught and he was killed. So this was his end. Okay. Now we come to compare that. Okay, this person, Allah Azza wa Jal, why did Allah Azza wa Jal not protect the Kaaba like He did before during the time of Abdul Muttalib alayhi salam and Abraha? Why did He not do so? Why? Abdul Muttalib was a responsible person. Abdul Muttalib was a believer in Allah Azza wa Jal, a true believer. And he did come over there to represent this message of Tawheed at that time. And he did go to Abraha to face him. Whereas, and in order to protect this person, and in order to protect his house, Allah Azza wa Jal sent the ababil, the birds. But in order for a person, an irresponsible person, like Abdullah bin Zubayr, Allah, as we saw, was ready for his house, Baytul Haram, for the Kaaba to be destroyed in order for this person to be caught to meet his end. And so no Ababil came in order to save Abdullah bin Zubayr, and he did meet his end. Whereas Abdul Muttalib, during his time, at this responsible person's time, that Ababil came. So we can see this, that people such as him, Abdul Mughira bin Sha'ba and others, and many others, all of these people, these irresponsible people met very tough, very hard, very harsh fates, but in the end, nothing did they reap, neither in the world, nor in the hereafter, nor any memory, any positive memory remains of them, and over there what they are facing is far worse than what we can mention.
Okay. So that has gone a long way to emphasizing the importance of God-given duties and responsibilities. So how would you conclude today's discussion?
To conclude today's discussion, after having seen the first value that Imam Hussein alayhi salam upheld, the first value that we can learn from his school of thought is the fact that the covenant of imamah.
Yes.
This covenant of imamah, we have to follow the imam of our time. We have to pay our allegiance to him. If he is present during our time, we have to go and aid him. Absolutely, whatever he says, we do.
Yes.
We should not try and give excuses and even make this think to work with our minds contrary to what the imam wants. We should not try to be smart or smarter. Whatever the imam wants, whatever the imam teaches us, this is what I want, that's it.
Yes.
This is called being a true muwali of the imam, like Salman al-Farisi was, Salman al-Muhammadi. He would even walk in the footsteps of the imam, to the extent that once when him, Abu Dhar al-Ghafari and Imam alayhi salam were walking, after reaching a certain distance, Imam alayhi salam turned back, and they turned back and asked Abu Dhar, how many steps do you see? He said, I only see 2 people's steps. Where's Salman's steps? Abu Dhar started to exclaim. The imam said, he's walking in my steps. That is how much he is holding on to imamah. So we have to be as such. At the same time, we have responsibility. The imam had his responsibility of Amr al-Ma'ruf and Nahy al-Munkar. This is the same responsibility that we all share, and we also have to uphold during our times, especially towards not only smaller things, especially towards the oppressors, the dhulam of our time. We have to classify, we have to identify who are the dhulam of our time and how we have to deal with them in order to be proper Hussainism. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. With that, we have come to the end of today's discussion. We hope it was enlightening for all of you. Don't forget to catch our next episode right here on IBN TV. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for the next program.